Actually, Becky, do you want to? Yes, excellent. There we go. Kicking off the recording. Welcome along. Welcome along. So today we are going to be looking at optimizing our processes using AI. Very exciting. Now, just before we kick off, I'm going to do this right at the top as I jump into my intro. Can I quickly get you to test your thumbs up reaction buttons by letting me know? Can you give me a quick thumbs up if you have access to ChatGPT either on your phone or thank you, folks who are showing me that's working. That's great. But can you give it if you've got access to ChatGPT either on your phone or on your computer? Give me that thumbs up now. Let's see how we're doing. How many folks have we got thumbs up from? That's about 20%. So what I'm going to suggest today, folks, is we are going to give you a moment or two at various points to do this. If you feel comfortable to and you are able to today, if you are able to download ChatGPT onto your phone, it will help you with the exercises that we are doing today. A big part of today is that we're going to show you how you and all of your teams can use AI to start being more productive from today. And for a lot of trusts, you may or may not be able to use ChatGPT or other tools on your computer. However, we are going to look today at how we can safely and securely use AI on your phone to help you with the work that you are doing. I'm going to show you why it's safe and secure to do it in that particular way. We're going to show you that use case today. So if you want to grab a moment to do that and make sure you've got that on there. If you really don't feel comfortable doing that, that's absolutely fine. Hopefully you'll have some of the folks in your group who have been able to do that, but do grab that for today. Again, if you've got access to it on your computer, that is great too. All right, so let's dive on in. Folks, as we go along today, if you want to ask any questions, do feel free to type them into the chat box. If something is incredibly important and you need to ask me, you can feel free to come off mute and give me a shout. But otherwise, as we go along, hopefully we can answer your questions as we go. We want today to be relatively interactive. We want to give you the opportunity to have a go at this. I'm going to say about this program, folks, we had a pilot of this program. We've made some slight tweaks to how it runs today. We would very, very much welcome your feedback. We are hoping to roll this program out as broadly, as widely as we possibly can. We want this to be the introduction for as many people as possible across the NHS in finance to start using AI in the work that they do in a way that feels comfortable, safe and secure for everybody. So please do give us your feedback. With that as our intention today. All right, so we are going to look. Rich, Becky, can I check you can see my slides okay?
Yeah,
all good.
Yep. Great. We will be sharing, folks, the recording of this session today. We will be sharing the slides and any other materials that go along with it. We'll make sure you have access to that at the end of today in case you want to come back, watch this, share it with your teams, etc. Let's dive on in for today. 60% of the jobs in finance today are not going to exist in 10 years' time, folks. But here's the crazy thing. Only 1 in 10 of those people impacted are even aware that this is coming. Now, I've been giving this little intro slide. I've been giving this particular slide for about almost 3.5 years at this point. And so some of you might be thinking, perhaps Teresa, you're sitting thinking, Oli, is this still 10 years? Teresa, you are right to think that question because it is in fact no longer 10 years. It is not even 5 years. Last February, not this February, a year ago in February, Gartner, the big people who do all the market research stuff, they did a big survey of lots of CFOs and they asked lots of CFOs, how long do you think before 60% of the roles in your finance teams don't look recognizable from what they are today? And those CFOs did not say 10 years or 7 years, folks. They said 3 years, and so it is now less than 3 years until 60% of the roles in finance today are really going to be different from what they expect. Now, before all of you race off to the job centre and start thinking about what you're going to do instead, I'm not necessarily saying that the number of roles are going to decrease. There are some caveats around that, but the work we're going to do is going to evolve so significantly. The skills we need in the future are going to be so different from what they are today, and AI is going to be a fundamental part of this. Now, people often ask me, Oli, do you think AI is going to take my job? And my answer to this is, I don't think that AI directly is going to take any of your jobs, but I think it's quite possible that if your boss employs somebody else onto your team and they are able to do somewhere between 2 and 10 times the amount of productivity and work that you can using AI, then obviously, if you were your boss, what might you do in that situation? Okay, so our role here, what I say, folks, is that as long as you're confident and capable at using AI over the next 3 years, there's no reason to be concerned about the work that we do, I think. And as we grow our productivity using AI, so many opportunities out there. So what we're going to think about today is processes. How can we improve our processes using AI? And we're going to talk about why processes, why we care about that so much, but we're going to talk about how we can use AI to improve our processes. We're going to talk about what is a process, what are the steps to analyzing whether or not a process is any good or not, and how can AI help us to do that. Now, I've mentioned this already. If you haven't already got access to ChatGPT, please do download that. Or check if you can. Again, if you don't feel comfortable doing that today, you don't have to, but we'll still be able to demonstrate what we're doing. So let's get in. But my quick question for you all, can you give me a thumbs up if you have ever been, in fact, let's use that raise hand button. You will need to take it back down afterwards, but use the raise hand button. Have you ever been formally trained in how to analyze and fix a process? Who use the raise hand button now if you have ever been formally, officially trained in how to analyze and fix a process? That's 0, folks. Of the 31 people attending this call today, that is none of you. Okay, so here's the thing. In the next 10 years, what we will need to be doing more than anything else in the next 3 years, right now in front of us, if we need to meet the challenges that are being set for the NHS, we need to make our processes better. And yet none of us have been trained on how to do this, right? Across all of finance, in general, when I do this for large audiences, it is somewhere between 2 and 3% of an audience have ever received formal training on how to do this. And now, actually, what I expect to see in the next few years is that every single person in our organization, from the most junior person all the way up to our most senior leaders, need to understand what it is to improve our processes and how to analyze and fix them. And so that is what we are going to take a look at today. And we're going to take a look at specifically how can AI help us to do this. I'm Oli Deacon, and I spend my time talking to great finance people like you to think about how to make progress into the future. I was previously a finance director at Microsoft. I used to live out in Seattle in the US, working in Microsoft head office. I moved back to the UK. I'm now based up in the Northeast. Some of you, if you are based in the Northeast, you might have seen me at various things locally. I've done some work up here with some of the trusts around this. So you might have seen me doing some stuff before. If not, do feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. Anyone actually, if you would like to connect with me on LinkedIn, feel free to do so. I spend my time thinking about the future of finance and where it's going and how to help teams get there. So let's kick off and get into it. What is a process? So here's what a process is. A process is 3 things. It is repeatable. So what makes a process? Basically, I'm going to do the same thing over and over again. If it's repeatable, it's a process. It can be followed from a set of instructions, and ideally it ensures proactivity. That means I can think about it ahead of time, and therefore I can plan for it and make changes to it. And it's also ideally a process that will help you to ensure that your controls are enforced. But our 3 things that really make a process is repeatable, can be followed from instructions, and ensures proactivity. What a process is not is situations in which we're being reactive, right? We're just doing stuff. Something comes into our inbox or something that we need to do that we weren't expecting to do, probably not a process. Now, we can make some of those things into a process, but less likely to be a process. So we want as many things as possible to be a process. So when we've been suddenly got to go pay an invoice that we suddenly come in, our CFO said, right, we need some new forecasting because some crazy stuff's happening, so can we have a forecast? Or just emails and general inbox stuff. So these things are not processed, but today we're going to focus on those things that are repeatable. How can we make them better? Okay, little cartoon for you right here. You can have a read of this. I'm going to say, folks, this happens embarrassingly too often in my household between myself and my wife, where my wife is the person asking for the salt, and I am delaying for 20 minutes because I'm trying to figure out a process for this. So again, sometimes we do spend too much time optimizing our processes, but today we're really going to, across the NHS, there are so many processes that are possible to be automated, and that is what we are going to be taking a look at today. So there are only 3 major steps towards fixing your broken processes, 3 steps between you and fantastically better processes. So let's take a look at what those 3 broken processes are. The first step is to map the process. How does it work today? How does it work today, folks? If we don't know how it works today, it's pretty difficult to fix it. So the first thing we need to figure out is what's happening today. Then we need to analyze it and understand how is it broken. And then finally, we need to look at how can we improve it and optimize it. And as I'm going to show you in a moment, folks, until very recently, I'm going to say until the last couple of years, all of these steps had to be done manually by a human in one way or another. And often many of our trusts were spending hundreds of thousands of pounds getting some fancy consultants in to come and do these steps. But what we're going to look at today, folks, is how now you are only required for one of these steps. And we are going to start to use AI to do 80% of the heavy lifting on steps 2 and 3. So how does a human do number 1? Now, I am going to give you the theory, the human-led theory behind 2 and a little bit of 3 as well. But we are going to start introducing AI to help us with these stages. So our first step is to map. Now, there are 2 different ways that you can map a process, folks, a fancy one and a simple one. The fancy option is what we call a static option, a process flow diagram or swim lane diagram. You pay consultants to come in, they use Microsoft Visio, and they draw you these really fancy diagrams that look like electric diagram explanation things. Wow, these big exciting things. Now, the problem with this, folks, we have a longer program. This is 1 hour, an hour of a finance transformation program that we run through Grow CFO. And we've taken the most important bits of that program. We're delivering just that for you today. And when we first launched the program, we taught people how to build these management consultancy fancy process flow diagram tools, and the feedback we got from the entire first cohort was, wow, this is so cool, we're never going to use it in the real world. So we went out and we taught some people who actually do this in the real world for small companies and in teams, and they use something we will call dynamic options. And this is going old school, much more simple, and this is just creating a checklist or using Excel to map out your process. I'm going to show you an example of this in a moment. And all we're doing is just simply within Excel writing out all the steps of a process and who is doing each of those processes. And the benefit of this is, folks, is that absolutely anybody can do this. You don't have to use some fancy, graphical presentations or anything else. The other thing is it's incredibly easy to edit and change as we go through. So we're just going to do this in Excel. And we do have a template for this. And in fact, what we're going to do now, Becky, if you're ready to start getting ready with some breakout groups, looks like we probably want to have, I'm going to say, let's do 6 breakout groups today. So you'll either have 5 or 6 folks in your group. And what I'm going to get you all to do, folks, is I would like you to type out as many steps as a process. We're going to give you 9 minutes. And in that 9 minutes, I would like you to type out as many steps as possible. As you can see here, now we're not going to give you this template today. We want you to do this lo-fi, so you can do it in Excel. You can. I'm going to say if you've got ChatGPT on your phone, what we'd like you to do is just get a note on your phone or somewhere you can type and just type the steps out on your phone. Now, I appreciate your thumbs are going to do a lot of work in 9 minutes. However, you will be more likely to be able to do something with this exercise if possible. Now, we're not going to ask every single person in the group to do this. However, maybe if one person's doing it on their phone and maybe one person's doing it, typing it out on their computer, that would be helpful, because afterwards we would like somebody in the group to paste the instructions, the step-by-step instructions, into the chat. Now, am I asking every single person in the group to write out steps? Not necessarily. Maybe it's going to be a bit chaotic if we do that. So what we'd like to do is probably just have one person pick a process that somebody in the group has and maybe collectively think about what are the steps. So ask some coaching questions, ask some questions to help that person. Maybe one person's doing the talking, one person's doing the typing, something like that. But what we'd like you to do is capture as many steps as possible in 9 minutes of any kind of process that you're running today. Okay, and as much detail as you feel comfortable getting into. And then we're going to show you how we can do something with this. All right, does anyone have any questions on this exercise before we go do it? Somebody's asked, do we have access to the slides? Absolutely, we'll be sharing all the slides and a little Excel version of this and the recording of this as well. So you'll have all this stuff. But we're going to show you, folks, how you don't even need any stuff for this, okay? So any other questions? Okay, Becky, if you can set up the breakout groups for 9 minutes, and folks, back, we want to have as many steps as of a process, so whatever process you want. So like invoice processing, how we produce a journal, how we do our reports at month end, how we share stuff with a business partner, how we get some cash flow forecasting done, whatever process you want, as long as you can feel like you can get a decent number of steps typed out in the next few minutes. All right, we've got a few folks drop off, that's fine, who obviously can't take part in a session right now interactively, but hopefully everybody else can. I'm going to say, folks, if absolutely nobody in your group is speaking, you can just come on back to the main room, but hopefully you'll have at least a couple of folks in the group who are ready to take part in this exercise. Any questions? See you back here in 9 minutes. Good luck, everybody. Okay, how do we get on? Good? Yes. Lots of cameras on there. Lovely to see lots of faces. People racing to turn their cameras back off again there. Thank you, everybody. All right, our next little step here, folks. Now, what you might have noticed is that only some of you in your group had your steps. So, if possible, can you copy and paste the steps of your process, wherever you're up to, into the chat so that other people in your group can access them as well? Excellent, love it. Thank you, Craig. That's beautiful. Great start there. Fantastic. Decoding a journal. Oh, love it. That's great. So a great one there, Melon. Thank you. Anyone else, if you want to? So, there we go. That's a good one. Very nice. Thank you, Teresa. Excellent. So we've got processing a journal here. This is great. So far we've got Alan, can you type in real quick what is the process that you're going through there? Just pop that into the chat for us. Anyone else from their group? That's 3 groups so far. Anyone else got them? I appreciate some folks might just have them on their phone. No. Excellent. Muniz is starting to put some in too now. That's great. Right. Okay. So hopefully you can grab those for the next component of the next bit of the breakout. I'm going to talk a little bit about theory while we put some more things in there. Creating budget reports. Excellent. Thank you. That's great. Thank you, Kyra. That's super helpful. Creating budget reports. Excellent. Cool. All right, so we will do some more things with these. What we're going to do next, folks, is I'm going to talk to you about how we analyze what's not working and what could be better, and then we're going to have a go at doing that ourselves while you grab the last few steps, while we go all those last few steps. So, has anyone come across the 7 wastes of lean? Anyone, thumbs up if you remember the 7 wastes of lean from our accounting exams, whenever those were. Rich does, of course. Anyone else? No, I've got one person who remembers them. So, 7 wastes of lean are from the concept of lean and agile, about things that aren't, how are things not going well for us? And what we've done is we've taken the 7 wastes of lean and we've applied them to the finance processes. So, let's take a look. This, folks, is a way in which you can analyze, are my processes working well or not? So here are the way that we have waste. These are basically ways that processes don't work well. The first is transportation. When it comes to finance processes, this is humans doing things that machines could be doing. So copying data or reformatting Excel data or other things like that. Inventory. Obviously, in the real world, in the factory, that's having too much stock. But in for inventory for us is completing tasks that don't need to be performed as part of the process. Motion, too many people involved or not sure who's doing what in a situation. Motion, obviously, in a factory is just too many people doing stuff, right? Or too much movement and things going on. But in this is too many people involved in a process. Waiting, that's pretty obvious. Like waiting is waiting around the world. So we are waiting for people to do things. Overproduction. Obviously in the factory is when we're making too much of something, but in finance it's when we create a 70-page report when 2 pages would have been just fine. Over processing, we've made a task unnecessarily complex. There are too many steps or too many stages. And finally, defects. And this is where we've just got mistakes, right? So mistakes in our process. Defects is obviously a big one. There is an 8th waste of lean that has come into lean over the last few years, and that is the not using our human potential. That is that we have human potential available to us and we're not using it appropriately. We'd also probably extend that now to AI as well. AI potential. We have the potential to be using AI in something and we are not using it. So we can run through and we can analyze, we can go through our process. If you go through your steps and you were to look at each of those steps, you could say which of the wastes of lean are applicable to these steps. So we're waiting for somebody here, we're doing too much work, things are complex, we've got defects going on at this stage. You can assess your process with this. Now, we're not going to do that today, folks, because we are going to have a look at AI doing it for us. Next up then is optimize. How do we improve our process to make it better? And we want to give you here today, folks, our process improvement framework, the 3 components of improving processes. Now, people often think that what we're trying to do with the process is automate it. And automating, we are going to take a look at in a moment, but automating is not the next step. The very first thing we need to do with our processes is to simplify them. We need to remove the complexity. We need to get rid of the errors and the waste and shorten the timetables, reduce all those dependencies. We just need to make our processes as simple as possible. Now, why is this our first step? If you put a very complex, error-ridden process with lots of waste and too many steps in, and you automate that into technology, guess what, folks? You still have a terrible process. You just have an automated terrible process. And so the first thing that we need to do is simplify as many of our processes as possible. As we move across all of our trusts to being as productive and as effective as possible, the first step, the step that we need every single person in our teams to take, is to simplify the process in front of us. The next thing that we do is standardize. Now, standardization is the magic. Standardization means that if you went across 100 different trusts, every person processing an invoice would pretty much do it in the same way. Now, if I asked 20 of you here today, folks, to write down how you would do the same process, I'm going to guess that I would get between 15 and 18 different answers on how that would work, slightly different across everybody. But what we want is we want everything to be done the same way. Why is that? Because if we want to use the same technology, one of the most common questions that I get asked from people in the NHS is, Ollie, when do you think we will all be on the same finance system? And my answer to that is when as many of our processes as possible are standardized and basically the same. Because when you migrate a whole bunch of processes onto the same platform, if they're all the same, it is much faster, easier to migrate all those processes. So standardization is magic. What standardization enables is that you can use all the new latest technology. It's much easier to get solutions that scale across things. It's easier to train people. If one team figures out how to improve a standardized process, everybody else can take advantage of that too. And the final one, and only then, once we've simplified and standardized, that's when we automate. Automate, bring in technology, letting technology do far more of the processes, all that exciting stuff that we would expect. And this is the outcome from remapping our processes. Simplify, standardize, automate. Make sense to everyone? So, how can we do this? How do we do the optimization piece? Here's the old way about how people used to optimize their processes. They would do our best to figure out from first principles, why is this process not working very well? They draw it out or write it down or do something and sort of be like, this is kind of the process, how it works today. And then they standardize. But in reality, we're not standardizing it. We're just doing it what we think is some sort of version of standardized. And then we automate it. But the problem with the automations in the past is that most of our automations would break as soon as an exception came around, and it would require humans to get back involved. And so exceptions stop the automation from truly working and don't really save us any time. So we try and automate and standardize our processes, but we wouldn't make a lot of progress. But now the world is different. And here's how we can do things. Once we have simplified, once we've written out how we do our process, we can use AI to immediately suggest improvements with our steps. A question for you all, a question for you. Folks, is anyone feeling brave and willing enough to come off mute and tell me, what is the concern with AI in the world of the arts? So think movies and music and TV and actual art, aside from copyright and job losses, what is the biggest concern about using AI in the world of the arts? You can type it in the chat box. Say that again.
Nothing will be original.
Nothing will be original. It's all going to be bland copies. Now, it won't be necessarily bad quality. It will probably take the average best of everything, but it will be bland and homogeneous and the same. It will all be boring and the same. That's terrible for the world of the arts. But guess what, folks? In the world of finance, that's amazing. That's what we want from all our processes. Bland and boring and the same. If we all put our processes into AI and ask AI, how could we do this in a better way? We're all going to get the same boring, bland, generally best way of doing something. If 99 of you all put the same process into AI, the majority of you will get the exact same answer. And that means that across trusts, if all of you are asking AI, how can I do this better? How can I process these invoices better? How can I calculate the cost of these procedures in a better way? It will generally tell everybody the same thing. And purely by using AI, we will transition to a standardized approach. And that will enable us to easily move to automation. And one of the most important things we're going to see from AI over the next few years is that AI will help us to automate our processes. It will move those standardized processes into tools and systems for us. Now, does that mean we're all going to lose our jobs? No, it means number one, we're going to be less stressed. And number two, we can do what we really need to be doing, which is value add work for the trusts and organizations that we support. Okay, so how do we do this? All well and good. This is nice theory, Oli, but what are we going to do in reality? Oh, by the way, folks, this is the way that I think about the future of AI. We want the machines, the AI, to do 80% of our low value work, and humans will deal with the exceptions and the high value work, the 20%. We need to partner. Think about partnering with AI, where AI does 80% of the boring, hard, difficult, messy stuff, and humans do the things that only humans can do. If we have time at the end, we'll talk a bit about that. Right, now's the real magic, folks. I would like you to have a go at seeing what happens when you try and fix these broken processes with AI. So, Rich, I'm going to suggest that we try it using, let's do that first one of recoding the journal. So your situation, Rich, would be you are a finance analyst at month end with your journal recoding process. All right. So folks, actually, so what Rich is going to do here is Rich is going to demonstrate how this exercise happens. So what Rich has done is he's going to say, I work, do you want to actually, can you jot in there in your first thing, I work as, yes, I'm a finance analyst, perfect. So what Rich is saying is, I work for the NHS in finance and I'm a finance analyst, hoping to improve and redesign my month-end journal recoding process. I've mapped this process below. And then, Rich, you can take out Recode Journal there from the top of that. Just delete that one bit because we've added that in. And then what we've done is I have added in all of the steps. And now we've added in our 3 prompts of what is wrong with this approach for the process. What could we do to improve it? How could we standardize this approach? And what technology could help? And finally, what would need to happen to enable us to standardize and automate this issue? And we have used the O4 mini model up at the top right-hand corner. Rich has paid ChatGPT and he has selected the brand new O4 mini, which has just recently released last Thursday. And so we are going to see now this version of AI is £20 a month, which you would have to pay for this yourself. It's unlikely your trust will pay for you for this. However, for £20 a month, folks, let's check out how good this is going to be. Feel free to hit go there, Rich. And so what AI is going to do for us is, in the beginning, it is going to start thinking. Now, old ChatGPT would start to answer immediately, but this time, so here's what it's generated. It has generated what's wrong with your old approach. Too many manual clicks and processes, free text descriptions, invite inconsistency, a manual cost center and expense code entry. Let's keep on going down. We've got spreadsheet layout, probably going to be fragile. So doing these things are not good. So how could we standardize it? It's giving us recommendations. So using golden record templates, master data management, audit trail and version control, recommended technologies. So here are things that we could do. Now, it's not just giving us like, here's an expensive tool that you could use, although it is doing that with UiPath and Automation Anywhere, or Blackline and Trintech, but it's also giving us more simple things like Power Apps and Power Automate. Then if we go further down, it's then giving us actual step-by-steps. Here's how you could do these things. So here's what you need to do. And if we keep on going down, quick wins, so things you can start doing straight away. Now, this seems well and good. It's an example. It's an immediate thing that we're doing. Now, can I ask, what I would like to see some folks doing is I would like you all to have a go at doing this yourself with your own AI. Now, I'm going to paste into the chat box. Again, I did this just before, but I'm going to put it in here. Here are the prompts. So you can copy and paste these in. And I would like you to have a go at starting to do this with the things you've got now. We've also got, you can copy out from the chat here what some of the other groups or what your group has done. And so I would like you to start putting some of these things into your AI and doing this. Okay. And in a moment, what I'd like people to do, we're going to give you a few moments to do this. And I would like you to start letting us know what are some of the responses that you got and how well did it work for you. Has anyone jumped the gun and already made some progress with this that they're happy to share with us or tell us what the outcome was? Yeah, so we're going to give you a moment, folks, to do that. Okay, while people are doing this, I'm going to talk about why this is safe. Okay, I'm going to talk about why this is safe. And folks, I'm going to give you 2 or 3 minutes to follow these prompts if you're a person who's got the AI working. Actually, does anyone have any questions? Anyone stuck? Okay, why is this safe? What's risky and why is this safe? The reason, folks, that lots of people are concerned about AI in today's world is that it can be very risky to put our data, our trust's data, our organization's data into AI right now. In the future, there are going to be ways to do that are safe and secure and give us incredible returns. Amazing things are going to come from putting data into safe AI tools. I'm going to say, folks, that the world is not generally ready for that. Unless you are pretty expert level at using AI, it's not a good idea to put your data into AI currently. And that's why lots of trusts say, don't do it right now. Thanks, Rich. Yeah, that's a great idea. If you can put your hand up when you're done, then we'll know to move on and start looking at some examples. You can put your hand up when you are done with your exercise. But here's the thing. There is a way, folks, in which the reason that it's a bad idea to put your data in is because any data that you put into AI models will be sucked up and used to train the AI models that might be exposed elsewhere. So how can we use AI safely? Would everyone here agree that there is nothing confidential about the process that you go through? We're all using pretty standard processes in our finance teams. If you went to another finance team, they'd be doing pretty much the same thing, right? So our processes are not confidential. So putting our processes into AI, low risk. Now, somebody still might say, well, if I use AI on my computer, maybe somebody accidentally put some data in or something like that. You're right. So let's make sure that we've got an air gap between all of our sensitive data and where we're asking AI about processes. And that's why, folks, if you're asking AI about processes and how to improve them on your phone, it is very low risk. It is very unlikely that you're going to be putting sensitive data onto your phone and causing problems. But equally, if you're on your phone asking it about processes, you can get some really high quality answers on how you can improve the process and things that you're doing. Okay, I'm going to pause there. Has anyone managed to put this through and get some answers yet? I'm even looking. If you get some answers and say, Ollie, these answers are rubbish, that doesn't matter. Let's talk about it, folks. Can anyone tell me what did AI tell them? Anyone feeling brave to come off mute and tell us what answer they got?
I can share what I've
yes, please.
What I put in. Let me just copy it. I'm going to stick it in the chat. I borrowed somebody else's examples, which was the creating budget reports.
Excellent. So once again, so it's giving you the issues, it's giving you the improvements. And Alison, can I check, are you using free ChatGPT or are you paying for this one?
No, I'm using the free one. So I've got an account, but yeah, it's a free version.
It's the free version. So this is just still the free version. So we've got some challenges here. So issues, how you can improve it. How could we standardize this? So then it's giving you templates. It's giving you rules engines, common data models. It's giving you technology enablers. So Microsoft Excel with macros and Power Query, folks, is free. There is no cost to that. It's giving you some other things that do have some cost associated with it. And then it's telling you some of the things that you can do on some of those steps. And then if you notice at the bottom, it's giving you a whole bunch of, it's saying, would you like me to go deeper into this? Would you like some help? Would you like some other things? Can everyone see that in the chat box that Alison's posted there? All right, can somebody else, is anyone else willing to share what they found? Alison, that's fantastic. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Can anyone else tell us either what's good or what's not good about what's come out for them? Salim, what we were just talking about there is in the chat box there. You should be able to see it if you go into the chat box. Salim, can you see that?
No, we can't see the suggestions.
Alison pasted it in the chat box. It should be, if you scroll up in the chat box, you should be able to see some of those suggestions there in the meeting chat.
Would that be after the prompts? Because I can't see anything after.
Yes, it should have come in after the prompt. So Rich then said, raise your hand when you're done. And then Alison pasted in what her question was and what the outcomes were as well from that.
Can't see
okay,
it for some reason.
we will share some of this chat afterwards as well, so you can see some of those outcomes for you, Salim. Matt, what did you come up with?
It's more just a reflection. So I can put the one in there, but it felt. So I think there were some helpful things, but they were pretty generic.
Yes.
Like so it wasn't about, and it might be that we've not done a really in detail mapping of the process that it can do, but it was reduce steps, error checking, or automate. That's fine. That's going to be the same answer to every process, rather than going through and saying this step could come out. You could do it like this. So that's just the reflection I had. I think there's some helpful stuff, but
yes. So I love that, Matt. That's definitely the first complaint. Is this feels too generic. Right, so it's quite a bland answer. It's not that interesting. So two things I'll say about that, Matt. Can I check? Are you using free version or a paid version?
I think paid version of Copilot.
Okay, so what I'm going to say, folks, is that Copilot in general not very good, unfortunately. So paid Copilot is okay, but I'm not sure that it's much better than pre-ChatGPT. So strategically, Microsoft have started to pull away from OpenAI because actually they're finding that the answers they're getting are not that good in Copilot, and they're looking to improve that. But if you use paid ChatGPT, you'll get quite a lot better answers and more specific answers as well. So Copilot tends to give slightly watered down, slightly generic answers to some of these situations. So one of the other concerns that people get is the suggested solution doesn't really work for me. So the technology doesn't work. It's a bit bland. A couple of things here. The first thing is follow up with your constraints. If you can't do what it's asking you to do, tell it. Basically, the same thing here as for Matt. What Matt's saying there as well is if it's giving you answers that aren't very good, you need to give it more context and more detail. So tell it. Give it more steps of the process. Tell it what won't work for you. Tell it why this answer is really boring and generic. So you just tell it. Say this answer is quite bland. We've already tried these things. What else could we try? And ask it, what other information would you need from me to get more detailed outcomes? And Matt's about to post the answer there, so this will be great. Anyone else? What other answers have people got? What else are people noticing about what they're getting out from this? Anyone else willing to share? Anyone else at all? Okay, so Matt's posted in here. So what you'll note there, folks, is Matt's answers are fine. They're not terrible, but in general, what we get from people using either Copilot or free ChatGPT is they say, yeah, these answers are fine. So you can see they're kind of, that's fine. But if we compare that to what Alison pasted in there, there was much more depth in Alison's answer. And again, if you think about Rich's paid version, even more depth, much better quality response, really starting to get into how can I help you make this better. So just thinking about paying that £20 a month to get that paid version can make a difference. You don't have to do that, but we're thinking about. Kyra.
I think for me, it's helpful that they give kind of like suggestions, but it says macros, and I'd quite like it to explain what macros it thinks would be beneficial, whereas it just says do a macro.
Use macros.
Yeah, and
Yes.
for people that don't know what a macro is, that's not very helpful.
Kyra, thank you for saying that. It's almost like I teed you up to ask that question directly, which is the second thing is, I don't know how to do that, or I don't understand what that means or what it is. And the magic here is that we can just jump straight right in and say, can you tell me what this is, what it means? Can you give me an example? Can you give me some instructions for this? So the magic of AI, the reason that people, once they start using this, never look back and never stop using this, is they realize that you can use this for absolutely anything. You can have a conversation with it and say, I don't know what that means. I don't know how to use it. As Rich says, AI chat is a conversation. How does this work? What else could I do? So we can just continue to go deeper and deeper and deeper and say, in reality, though, how would I use this? If you feel cynical, if you feel like this isn't going to help me, you don't have to stop, right? This isn't Google. It's not the end. We can continue to ask it. And the more that you work with it, the more that you will find that it helps you and learns about you and what might help you. Ellen.
I sort of on a similar kind of vein, all our things are on Excel because we obviously don't invest in a variety of different registers and electronic programs for different things. So everything's on Excel. So sometimes it would be, I've asked it before, how would I create a, so for example, one of our things is we want to completely redo how we do our fixed asset register in the financial reporting team because it's very old and outdated and we have 101 different tabs. And I was looking for a way to sort of overhaul it. And if I ask ChatGPT, just the basic one, it gives me a lot of information, but kind of like was just said, it's not very, it's still a bit basic. It'd be useful if at some point it linked into Excel or even showed examples or pictures or just gave a bit more detail rather than you need to include these columns. I'm thinking, yeah, I know how to include these columns, but I don't necessarily know how to do the formulas or anything. So I don't know if that's something that
sounds good.
It will bring in.
Rich, can I ask you to use O3 Mini? I know you love to use O4 Mini High. Can I get you to just use O3? Actually, not Mini. Can I get you to use O3? Can I get you, Rich, to ask O3? The question is, how could we improve? How could we rebuild a fixed asset register in an NHS trust?
I'm going to use O4 Mini High because that's replaced O3 Mini High, and it's built for coding, and
Cool, okay.
it's a good one.
Cool.
So what's the exact question, Ollie?
How could we rebuild a fixed asset register in how could we rebuild a fixed asset register in an NHS trust context?
In Excel?
That's currently in Excel. Okay, and let's see what it comes up with. Now, we've not given it any extra context. We've not told it any of our specifics. We're not giving it any cool, exciting little details and things and problems that we've got at the moment. Now, what these models do is they don't necessarily give you a full thing, but what it's giving us here. Okay, so let's see. So scope and requirements, let's keep on going down. So choose a platform. So it's giving you some options there on how we could do that. Then if we keep on going down, data model migration plan, how to think about going about that. Physical auditing and tagging, what we need to do, process and controls, keep on going, reporting and dashboards, how to think about that, roll out continuous improvement, some quick wins. Now, this is an immediate answer there. It thought for 10 seconds for how to do that, and then coming up with some thoughts on that. What we can do on each of those areas is go and ask it, hey, could you give me much more detail on this? How would we do this? Can you create a plan? All those things. Now, Ellen, your point was, Rich, you can take that down for us again there. Ellen, your point was today, we can't, I'm not able to, it won't give me any examples. It won't show me how to do this. Folks, in the next, I'm expecting, I don't know, Rich, if you agree with this, I'm expecting in the next 8 to 16 weeks, we are measuring this in months, not years. I'm expecting ChatGPT, the next features it to roll out are within Excel, PowerPoint, and other Microsoft tools is to start showing you stuff, is to produce things for you. So it will already paid ChatGPT will produce for you basic Excel tables. However, I would expect it to start producing more and more things for you in the coming months with the paid for version, Ellen. So we'll not only tell you how to do it, it will start giving you some examples of how to do that as well. But again, Ellen, that would be a great one for me to really go into detail on one of those paid models and to start asking it some detailed questions on that. Anyone else? Any thoughts, concerns, issues on this at all?
It's worth me saying, Ellen, sorry to interject, Ollie, that in January, I just got it to start teaching me Python, and that allowed me to just begin building AI chatbots myself. And I'd never done that coding language before. If you want to know how to build formulas in Excel, it's just a case of getting it to type it out for you. I've got to be honest, this model is excellent at that, and it is starting to do reports and Excel sheets and all that with a good degree of accuracy. What I will say is, from the forum's perspective, we are going to be building and opening up access for a secure AI chatbot built on these models that you've seen today for use in these workshops and otherwise. So that, although it may seem that you've got to pay 20 quid to do it, I think it's very valuable. We're going to start making that available to you for these sessions moving forward as well. So, and that's in a matter of 6 to 8 weeks, not months. That's all, Ollie.
Excellent, thank you. Can I just ask, so I'm happy to take any last questions. We do have a quick feedback form that we would really love you to fill in, if you can do. While we're thinking about that, just to say, folks, I am working with lots of teams across the trust. I think I mentioned that earlier on, lots of teams. If you're up in the Northeast, I may already be working with one of your teams. I work with, I do a bunch of speaking, so I come around and talk to lots of teams like I do with this today. Lots of training around AI as well as business partnering, some of the other things that we'll be thinking about in the future. I'm also working with a number of CFOs and deputy CFOs on a one-on-one basis, thinking about the operating model and getting ready for a lot of the productivity challenges as well. So if you think anybody might be interested in that, do feel free to put them in touch with me. You can connect with me on LinkedIn and also on my website if you'd like to grab some time, that's fine as well. Does anyone have any last questions today? Has this been an interesting hour session? Can I get you folks to do one last raise hands? Can I ask you to raise your hand if you feel confident that you might go and try using AI to map a process, or to try and have a go with AI when it comes to processes after today? So folks, this is I appreciate you're going to be doing some different bits and pieces, but let's see, we've got, I think that's 19, I think we topped out there at 20 hands, 22. Excellent. Okay, thank you. You can lower those hands again now. So I'm going to say that is a solid 2/3 of us here today feel good that we will go away and have a go at doing this. Hopefully, folks, you can see, please do share this with your teams. Go talk to with your teams about it, as many people as we possibly can. We really would love to see that. Please do fill in the feedback form for us today. We are still evolving this. Our goal is to get this across to as many people across all the trusts as possible. We are trying to simplify this training down to the only things that you need to make this useful. If you've got comments, you think we don't need to do that bit, Ollie, it would have been great to see more of this. We have evolved all your feedback, really appreciated. So I'm going to give you a moment of quiet to do that. Unless anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer before we break.
Ollie, well, sorry, will we be able to access this recording and share it with our teams, or is it just whoever's on this group now?
Rich?
Yes, so we'll be sending out a web page, and all of that will have the resources for the template. We'll have the recording, we'll have Ollie's slides, and we'll be doing this monthly as well. So if you want to deliver it yourself, please do, or next month your colleagues can catch us doing this. We're also looking for volunteers. It's worth saying to deliver this session yourselves. So if you're keen and fired up, then do give us a shout, and you can be in the hot seat where Oli is now teaching others.
And Rich, will people be able to show this recording to their teams?
Yeah, we'll have that on the
Great.
website as well as an embedded video, and you can share that around completely. Yeah.
I'm going to say, folks, nothing beats you just doing this with your teams in the team meeting. That's what we would recommend most, is that just grab a few of these slides, get together with your teams, just get them all to have a go at doing this in a team meeting together and talk them through it and let them experience. Nothing beats experiencing this and seeing it for yourself, what a difference it can make. Any last questions for today, folks? All right, thank you so much for joining us. It's been lovely having you along today. Hope it's been interesting and useful, and we hope that you can all start to optimize some of your processes with AI going forward. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.